What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of TheBotTalk. In today's episode, I am with Jake from AYCD. It's a very interesting episode. We jump into a lot of things. I've been trying to get him on TheBotTalk for a while. He was scheduled for season 1. However, we stopped season 1, so we moved in season 2. It's a very interesting episode. I really hope you guys do enjoy. However, we have one sponsor before we jump into today's episode. If you guys want to sponsor an episode on TheBotTalk, go ahead and contact me at TheBotTalk on Twitter and I'll respond there. However, the sponsorship for this episode is Bobby's World. Bobby's World is a cook group on Discord. It is home to the only Kith raffle bot and tons of other great info and intel to ensure you cook every limited sneaker release. It's a very good cook group. I will leave the link down below and also their website as well. You can join for a 3-day free trial, so why not join and check it out. Jumping straight into today's episode, guys, we're going to start off today's episode with the question we ask all our guests: how did you get into reselling?
So one of the main things that got me into reselling was Supreme. I remember back in high school, one of my buddies told me that there's a box logo dropping, tee specifically. It was the New York City Yankees box logo tee, and he told me that I should go for it because it resells. And back in high school, I barely had any money, so I could afford one tee on a drop, and that was about it. And that drop I happened to hit manually. And I sold it for like $200, and I was just ecstatic about that. Like, I turned $50 into $200, and that kind of like blew my mind because normally I had to see my friends working hourly jobs, and I made what they make in 3 days in about an hour. So that was one of the big things that got me into reselling. What like took me to the next level was joining a cook group, which I did in 2018 at the very end in around November. And yeah.
Yeah, that is very similar to what our guests do say on the show. They do say that their friend kind of refers them. Loads of guests have said that. And then they discover the aftermarket, because I'm pretty sure that back then when everyone's a kid, everyone wants money to go ahead and, like, I don't know, buy video games, pursue their interests. And obviously it's a nice thing to have without actually having a job. And you discovering this aftermarket and discovering that resale that you can get from these items pushed your financial growth, and obviously was one of the things you did want to continue because of that financial growth. Kind of segues nicely into our next question. You did mention joining a cook group and kind of coming into the community. How did you go from being a manual user, like you said, to being a bot?
The main thing that transitioned me from going manual to using bots is I actually got a retail job where I had more money saved up to get multiple items. And that really isn't possible for some drops as a manual user. So the main thing I did was, or the main thing that made me want to buy a bot was the Union Air Jordan 1 drop. I saw people make thousands of dollars on that drop because they hit so many pairs. And at that time, I was just like, damn, like, you really just slept on that much money. And like, it's time for you to figure this out and get involved with everyone else. And Nike ShoeBot had their Black Friday sale. And so I went for that drop. I managed to hit that. And that was my first AAO bot that I had.
Yeah, I feel like that answer is pretty typical considering the time period you did mention about the Union Jordans and then the profit that you did see, once again referring to that aftermarket. Once you saw that, you thought, let me capitalize on that. You have the capital to go ahead and buy multiple pairs, but being a manual user, that kind of caps or adds a ceiling to how many pairs you can get, if one pair in some releases, because it's heavily botted. So making that decision to go ahead and buy a bot, even if it was NSB, at the time it was pretty good. Obviously it's one of those bots that are always in stock, so it's a good option for beginners. So that was a very wise decision to do, which could contribute towards everything you've done in the community so far. But it does segue nicely into my next question I want to ask. When you first buy a bot, it's very complicated. It is automation. It's not something you can pick up and start doing straight away. I feel like bots have got better over time about simplifying the UI and making it easier for the user. However, when you first got into botting and you first got into drops in general, what were some of the first drops?
So the main drops, I remember that I participated in first with Nike ShoeBot, the Off-White Zoom Flies, the 10 series. I remember I struck out that drop, and that really like showed me like, hey, this isn't as simple as entering some keywords, pressing start, and you hit 20 pairs. I had to learn about proxies. I had to learn about servers. I had to learn about early links, and it really like showed reality to me about this is a lot more than just buying the bot. So that drop, the original Fear of God, Air Fear God ones, I believe was around that time. I remember that month had a ton of drops. Yeah, those are the main ones that stuck out to me. I think the first drop I hit was the Air Force One off-white the tens, and the static reflective 350s.
So yeah, you mentioned some drops that did have huge amount of resale, and I feel like that is a catalyst towards continuing to resell and continuing into the botting world, which inevitably brought you to starting one of the companies we're going to talk about today, which is AYCD. Moves really nicely into our next section. What inspired the name AYCD?
So funny enough, the team and I were looking for domain names. We're a big fan of four-letter domains and also just like crisp, clean domains. And we stumbled upon AYCD, and we said it a few times, and it clicked. And so we just rolled with it. We actually didn't know what the acronym AYCD was going to stand for until like a month into the launch of the program. But thankfully, we found something that really fits well with the four letters.
So yeah, I feel like there is a unique story to every name. Everyone has their own type of origin. We've talked about this in the show before. Some people do have an origin, some people don't. So it's always nice to educate the viewer on that. Kind of segues nicely into the next thing I want to talk about. AYCD, the project itself, the company itself is pretty unique. Obviously, there is other companies out there that have gone ahead and made products similar to that. But at the time when it did get released, it was very unique. It wasn't a bot, it wasn't a cook group. It was a very unique project. What inspired you to create the project that is AYCD?
So the main thing that inspired me to start AYCD was I noticed in my cook groups a lot of users complaining about not receiving one clicks during Shopify drops. And our developer previously had a one click generator built into his program. And I noticed a few of our users for that program used the one click generator in their Shopify bots, even though that's not what it was designed for. And I always had the thought, oh, why don't we just make this a standalone product and sell this to the community? Unfortunately, our developer was busy doing a lot of things, so we couldn't do that. And then the one-click program started to come out, like Eve Capture, for example, Evan Capture. There are definitely a couple more. And so, I mean, I definitely didn't want to not abandon this idea because I knew that our developer did it very well. But I didn't want to just come out with the same program everyone else was doing. So my idea was, why don't we add a billing converter to this? Because then we can start adding more tools, and it can be different than the rest, aside from it being the best. And so that was the main thing that kind of got us started with the whole toolbox aspect of AYCD.
See, what I really like about your answer there, that you assured yourself right at the beginning that you do want to expand on this product. There is a future for this product. It isn't just going to be a one-click kind of generator for your account. You're setting the foundation to go ahead and grow with the product, grow with your finances. Because obviously this does cost a lot. At the beginning, with the beginning investment, you're going to put money in. You're going to create this product. So you're going to add more features to it. That other one-click generator doesn't have you aside yourself from the competition. You're putting yourself out there to essentially be the best. And like you said, you were the best at the time. I do remember when all these capture generators did come out. It did take me a couple of times until I found AYCD, because I feel like loads of people were going for the companies that were more well known. But as all the viewers know, AYCD is by far the most dominant one click or toolbox in general application that you can literally buy right now. And also, if you guys are wondering how you can buy this, if you guys go to the link down below, you can go there, you can buy it right now. It's all available. Link will be in the description. But kind of segues nicely into the next thing I'm going to talk about. Like I did mention, when you start a project within this community, you can go with starting a group, a bot. What made you side with creating a tool software against the rest?
So the main thing that made me want to do a tool is because I only like to do things that I'm confident that I know they will be a good product once it's released, and things I have experience in. And personally, I joined my first cook group in late 2018, and we released AYCD in early 2019. So I really didn't have experience in the groups aspect. And then like a full AA or request bot, none of us just really had experience doing something like that. Although the tools we did have experience in, and I was confident that we could make it the best. One thing that I really stand by is that we have a monthly mantra, which I know that not the entire community enjoys. They like lifetime and renewal keys that are 6 months. But we like monthly because if we're not doing well and we're not constantly updating and keeping our users happy, then people aren't going to continue to renew. So it forces not only us to perform at the best we can, but it guarantees our users that they're going to constantly get updates. They're going to constantly get the best product.
See, that's quite an interesting take. I've never actually thought about it that way. When I always thought of monthly payments towards the product, I always thought of longevity of the product, longevity of the business. However, I never thought about it being a motivating factor because obviously your point does make sense. If you're not going to be pushing updates, people are going to stop subscribing and go away to the competition. So if you keep that monthly basis going on and you're adding updates, people are going to subscribe more. People might upgrade their plan to like AYCD Pro, which is another product you released. And I feel like that is a good factor to do with other people that are making tools out there or making bots.
And yeah, just to play off that, as I started to gain traction in the community and as I started to learn more, I actually started my own cook group, which was named Juiced. And once I was comfortable with that and running it really well, then it progressed into AYCD Pro. Just because once I know that I can do something very well, I want to do it and spread it to the community and be able to share that with everyone. But for me, it's just all about making sure I know how to do it. I want to impress, and I want customers to be happy with the product that they're paying for.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like within business, any type of entrepreneur, any person in business needs to feel confident about their brand and their product. If you're not confident about your product, then you can't expect consumers to be confident about your product in buying it and giving you money, investing their interest within your company. So I feel like you being interested in it, being 100% confident with it, pushing into the market to compete against other people is definitely the way to go. But it kind of works nicely with my next question I'm going to ask here. What were some of the preconceived notions you had going into the creation of AYCD that turned out to be completely wrong?
So some preconceived notions I had was that I wasn't sure how much of the community would like want to use our tools. I knew that Shopify was a huge platform that people boughted, and that like one clicks were a concern, but I wasn't sure if like 100 people needed it or 1,000 people needed it, or if it was just a very small portion. Um, and since I had never bought at Shopify before, or I had for like a month or two, um, it kind of was scary. Like, oh, I hope these people actually need this. Oh, well, I hope the billing converter is good enough and lots of people have bots, so they need to use this. But that was one of them. Thankfully, I was stumped and proven wrong. And a large portion of the community really does need tools to be successful.
Yeah, that's from my opinion in there. When these tools did come out, personally, this isn't a knock towards your company, any other company out there that does something similar to this. In my head, I was just like, realistically, this isn't going to bring in a large amount of revenue just because of the fact that it's not a bot, it's not a cook group, it's literally just a toolbox that people can use. But once you start adding updates, and literally I could go talk to 10 people, or maybe like 7 out of 10 people will have AYCD. It's one of those fundamentals for your botting to increase the one clicks, billing converters, ease and convenience of your entire botting experience.
Yeah, definitely. And like thankfully we don't I understand that a lot of bots have to be out of stock or they have to have a large entry fee in order to like take in customers, and that makes sense because they have to limit it to the community in order to improve the longevity of their bot and the quality of it. But for us, thankfully, we can price ourselves at a lower price point and be readily available so that even the entry level brand new botter or the experienced many years of botting person can easily like purchase our tool.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that is one of the contributing factors as to why people buy it. New people, when they come into the community, they're really, really interested about how to get into buying, and when they see AYCD being one of the best things they need, they buy it having that ready subscription at their fingertips. And also they have the cook group option as well with AYCD Pro. So I feel like you're accommodating towards new users and also users that do want to get into AYCD and the company overall. So I definitely think the company's going in a good direction. But one thing I did want to touch upon, when you first start AYCD, when you start any business venture, to grow it to the point it is at right now, it is hard. What were some of the hardships you went through? What was the process like?
So one of the main things I did to grow AYCD was really connect with group owners and various people that would be willing to offer our product to their members, which is pretty standard in this community among tool owners and bot owners and proxy owners, etc. But another thing that I really care about is customer service. I worked in retail for around 4 years before I joined this industry, and I think that a lot of people forget how important customers are and providing them adequate service. So I really tried to connect with my customers, talk with them. I think I'm one of the few owners who answers every single DM I get. And it's because that's one of the big things for me. Alongside the program being the best, I want to make sure that customers want to pay for the program. They want to talk about the program. Um, because at the end of the day, we have tons of competitors and tons of people can make a program that looks really pretty and is from a hype brand. But at the end of the day, if your users are happy and telling everyone, wow, this program's awesome, and not only is it the best, but they care about you, that was one of the big ways I grew the company to what it is right now.
Yeah, touching on one of the points you made there about offering cook groups discount prices with your plans. I remember being in a few cook groups and I remember seeing AYCD keep popping up. And it was very clever what you did. You basically took the base fee that you usually charge that. I'm not particularly sure what that price was, but then you reduced it to reduce the amount. I remember I was in one group and how I actually got AYCD is through a group right through them where you charge $30 a month instead of a higher rate, which in my opinion is a very smart move. It is a low price. It's one of those things where if you saw it on your bank statement, you wouldn't really look too much into it. It's just like a little small charge. It's like your Spotify charge, your Netflix charge. It's priced really well and it does help users as well. So that kind of contributes towards word of mouth recommendations and it kind of grows the brand like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think our low price entry point was a big reason for why people would want to join us as well. And I knew that as a brand new company with a not very big brand name behind it at that point, it was going to be needed for me to price it at a lower point. And as we progressed, I have scaled up the price. Um, and so those people who supported us early on are lucky, or not lucky, but I'm very thankful for them. But they're lucky that they have those low price points because they can sell them for a profit or they can continue to pay for our product at such a low price, almost half the cost or more than half the cost of the current price.
Yeah, I feel like that is a very good way of incentivizing users that have been with you from the beginning. Like I know loads of people are still paying $13 every month. I was paying it for quite a while as well, and it is a good way of incentivizing beginner stakeholders in the company that actually decide like, you know what, I'm gonna try out this company. I'm gonna go with it against competitors, and it's a really nice way to reward them. However, another thing I want to talk about, when you're running a big business in general, it does take a huge knock on with your personal life. I feel like everyone here, if you're running a job in this community or you're dedicated to something, it takes a good amount of your personal life out because you need to dedicate time to that. What were some of the impacts on your personal life owning AYCD?
Some of the main impacts on my personal life with owning AYCD was the lack of time I had to spend with family and friends. At the end of the day, it was very worth it, and I am very happy with where I'm at. But there were some times where I couldn't go to dinner with family, I couldn't go to the movies or hang out with friends. And I'm very happy that I didn't pursue those things. And instead, I continued to run my company and provide the best service I could to my users.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there is always going to be a trade off being like an entrepreneur with anything. Like you need to sacrifice. There's only X amount of hours in a day you sleep as part of it, and also you dedicate time to like maybe your education. Then after that is literally grind mode. You work on what you want to be successful at. I know like socializing seems like one of those things where if you're missing out, you just falling down in life and you're not having a fun childhood or you're not having a fun teenagehood. But at the end of the day, if you're being an entrepreneur, if you're pursuing something, you're getting all this revenue in, I feel like the trade-off is worth it because when you make the money now, you can always spend it later. You can always enjoy yourself later. So I feel like it is a very, very good trade-off. But it touches upon two questions I did want to ask. I ask all, I guess, when they're representing companies within the community. What were some of the positives and negatives of running a successful company like AYCD?
So we'll start with the negatives and then go into the positives. So one of the big negatives is lack of sleep. Although I could choose to sleep like 12 hours a day, 8 hours a day, whatever. Um, I don't want to because like I see 20 DMs before I go to bed and I want to make sure I answer all of them. Or I see a couple support tickets that need to get answered and I want to make sure that gets done. Or I think of a crazy new idea or program that we can add and I want to make sure that we write that down in our planning application because the main thing for me is I want to make sure that AYCD is on top until this industry crashes, which hopefully never happens. But as I mentioned prior, we're a monthly payment monitor company, so I need to make sure users want to renew. Aside from that, running AYCD isn't very negative. Thankfully, our customers are pretty great people. When they have problems, they're polite about it. They let us know, and I think that's because they know that we will fix things, and we're not just going to say, "Oh, okay, we'll get it done," but we really do update and we fix it, which is awesome. And I'm really glad that our customers are nice enough and also trust us enough to get things done. But to segue into some positive things, one of the positive things, I guess, is being able to have a platform. Um, I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this have seen lately that I've been very adamant about companies being respectful to their customers. Not going to name any names, but I have called out a few companies recently for being disrespectful to their customers. And the main reason why I do that is because when a couple companies are treat their users poorly, it really deteriorates our whole industry as a whole. Because if a lot of people have a bad experience, well, they might just could say, well, I'm not going to resell anymore. I'm just going to leave and find something else to do. When instead they could go to a different brand and have a much better experience. And that kills everyone's companies at the end of the day. And so that's something I'm really firm on. I want people, like, regardless of if they're my number one competitor, I really hope that they treat their customers the best that they can. So having that platform is great because then, like, I can be the one to preach all these things. Another thing is definitely being able to talk to some of the people I idolized when I was in cook groups. I've met some of, like, the coolest people on here. Like, I've talked to Curdy before, who's really awesome. I've talked with the Calico's owners and various other people. So, which is awesome. I made some really great friends in this community. Nick from Hypewave, for example, if anyone knows him, the FlappyBot owner. He's one of my great friends in this community, and then a couple other people as well.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of sums it really well. There is some negatives within the community. It is something to keep in mind that when you're treating your customers, if you do own the products, you should be respectful to them because it has a wider impact. It's kind of like a butterfly effect. It ripples through everything and it affects everyone's companies. So I feel like preserving the community, especially because in a sense, our community isn't huge. I know in some respects it is, the reselling community is, but the botting community isn't gigantic. Like, everyone knows the people that have a platform to talk to these companies. So I feel like treating users with respect, as long as they're treating you with respect as well, is the best way to go because it just helps everyone in the community, and that kind of pushes forward with developing brand images across a whole in the community, and it just benefits everyone involved. However, moving on to the final thing I want to touch upon in today's episode, what are some of the things you have planned for the future in regards to AYCD?
Some things we have planned for AYCD. For starters, we have a sales tracker planned for our toolbox users. This one won't be exclusive to AYCD Pro, as I know we've released a few AYCD Pro exclusive products, but this one will be for the toolbox users. It's going to be a lot more than a sales tracker too. We definitely are not going to just release a simple sales tracker, as we want you guys to really enjoy our products and be proud of the product that you're paying for. And then alongside that, we definitely have a lot of surprises down the way. We have a raffle bot coming for pro users. We are looking into mobile applications, and we have AutoSolve coming, which will be expanded on in the future. I can't provide much info on that yet.
Well, guys, you heard it here first. There's a lot of exciting things coming towards AYCD, and if you guys want to check them out, their link will be down below. I highly suggest you check them out. Also, Jake's Twitter link will be down below. Go check them out. If you like AYCD and you guys are in there already, go ahead and check it out. It's a very good product. I've been using it for well over since its launch. I think like maybe 1 or 2 months after its launch, I started using the product. It's really good. I highly suggest it. Go check them out. I'm gonna catch you guys next time. Peace out.